This November, Floridians will be casting votes that could alter the fate of the wellness landscape for the rest of the country. This video will show you why this is a pivotal moment in the cannabis industry and how you can turn either outcome to your advantage. My name is Keiko Sono, a cannabis educator and a coach. To understand the significance of this amendment, you need to learn about a super interesting battle that's been going on that no one has heard about. I'm talking about the battle between the hemp industry and the recreational cannabis industry. And Florida could be the deciding factor. Hemp and intoxicating cannabis, also known as marijuana, are variants of the same plant, cannabis sativa. Hemp does not get you high, but produces many other therapeutic cannabinoids, the chemical compounds in the plant. CBD and THC are two of those cannabinoids, and there are more than 100 others in this amazing plant. THC is the well-known chemical that gives the intoxicating high, and the cannabis plants used in production of recreational products usually contain between 10% and 30% THC. Hemp was illegal until 2018 when the Farm Bill legalized it on the federal level, with the definition of hemp as having less than 0.3% THC by dry weight. The purpose of the bill was to expand the hemp market for fiber and construction materials. However, there was an oversupply of industrial hemp, and to use it up, businesses began extracting cannabinoids as wellness supplements, leading to the explosion of CBD products. Soon, they also found many loopholes in the bill that allowed them to produce and sell high THC products legally. The first and biggest loophole was that the lawmakers only had in mind the THC limit in the plant and not the final product. If you apply this 0.3% limit to an edible product, for example, even a 5-gram gummy could contain 15 milligrams of THC. For contrast, many states that allow recreational cannabis limit the THC level to 10 milligrams per serving. That would feel sufficiently strong for most casual users and quite strong for beginners. Another loophole was in the chemical definition. Cannabis plants actually don't contain much THC. What they do have is THCA, the acidic form of THC, and does not get you high, but gets converted to THC when heated, as in smoking or cooking. This is why you might have even seen actual weed being sold at places like a deli completely legally. Then came the hemp-derived THCs. You might have heard of Delta 8, 9, 10. These are all variations of THC. Delta 9 is the naturally occurring and most abundant THC. Delta 8 and 10 might be found naturally in minute amounts, but they are largely synthesized from CBD. So again, technically legal. None of these were regulated at all, especially in the early days, like 21, 22. There were THC products in candies, cookies, vapes, and drinks, and they were sold anywhere from gas stations to corner delis without minimum age requirements, and many were packaged in designs attractive to children. This is the situation you most likely heard about in the news headlines and politicians' statements. Government officials from progressive states like California and conservative states like Florida alike have expressed intolerance against such lawless situations in the hemp THC. But these headlines don't tell the whole story. The shady operations that put dubious products on the shelves of gas stations are not the mainstay of the hemp industry. Many established hemp companies come from the genuine wellness perspective. It's not uncommon to find companies that were started by individuals who sought treatments for themselves or their friends or family. Charlotte's Web, the biggest CBD company in the US, is a good example. It was started because the mother of Charlotte Fiji, a girl who was diagnosed with a rare form of epilepsy, reached out to Jared Stanley and his brother, who were developing cannabis plants high in CBD and low in THC. Charlotte's reaction to their products were remarkable, and the word spread quickly. Even if you're not 1 in 3 Americans who have tried CBD products, you have definitely seen CBD in everything from supplements to cosmetics to pet products. And you might be thinking, like I was, it's just another health trend with hyperbolic claims. But there are actually scientific and social factors that contribute to this popularity. To understand this, I have to talk a bit about neuroscience. So you've heard CBD works for epilepsy, as in Charlotte's story. You might have seen a video like this with Parkinson's disease patients. Your doctor might suggest you try CBD topical for your joint pain. Your therapist might mention CBD gummy for anxiety. But how can one compound work for so many different things? Turns out, CBD and other cannabinoids work so broadly because they bind or interact with receptors that are in our body. A whole lot of them, in fact, in every inch from brain to bones. But why do we even have these receptors? Well, we actually produce our own cannabinoids that bind to them. They are called endocannabinoids, of which 2 are known, 2-AG and anandamide, named after the Sanskrit word ananda for bliss. And yes, that's the name of this channel, the Bliss Lab. Now is a good time to click that like button and subscribe for more unique perspectives on cannabis and the cannabis industry. Now, this network of receptors, called the endocannabinoid system, ECS for short, turns out to be the largest transmitter system in our body. And its primary purpose? To keep our mind and body in balance. According to Dr. Peter Greenspan of Harvard Medical School, ECS regulates and controls many of our most critical functions, such as learning and memory, emotional processing, sleep, temperature control, pain control, inflammatory and immune responses, and eating. It's mind-boggling to think that this system was not even discovered until 1988, and that very few scientists outside of cannabis science talked about it until very recently. Now, Dr. Greenspan says the ECS is currently at the center of renewed international research and drug development. So, expect to be hearing more and more about this. So, this is why plant cannabinoids could possibly address a large array of issues, because we have receptors for them everywhere. But that's not all. As I mentioned before, a cannabis plant could contain more than 100 cannabinoids. Each one of them binds or interacts with receptors and modulators in our body. They also interact with each other, enhancing or inhibiting each other's effects. On top of that, cannabis also has other compounds such as terpenes and flavonoids, all of which have unique properties and possible therapeutic benefits. As an example of how these cannabinoids interact with each other, CBD, when taken with THC, mitigates some of the potentially negative effects of THC, such as paranoia, anxiety, and heart palpitation. When someone is having an anxiety attack from taking too much THC, inhaling CBD could possibly calm that person down. There have not been clinical studies done on these, but the anecdotal reports seem promising. CBD could also partly block THC from binding perfectly to the receptors in our brain, thereby softening the effects of possible addiction. Again, we need more clinical studies on this. There is no way we can know every single variation of effects caused by the infinite number of combinations of these chemical compounds, but we do know this. When these plant compounds are taken as a whole, in the full diversity as found in the plant, the results are far more effective than the single compounds taken separately. It's like 1 + 1 = 5, 10, 20. In cannabis science, Dr. Ethan Russo is known for his work on this phenomenon, most commonly known as entourage effect. But it's not just cannabis. Plant medicine and nutrition in general seem to follow this pattern, as expressed by Dr. Michael Greger, author of How Not to Die. Most responsible hemp companies know this and produce their products accordingly, preserving rich diversity of cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids. As one of the major cannabinoids, THC is an important component that enhances other cannabinoids, especially CBD. Studies and anecdotes show that CBD products work a little better when taken with a small amount of THC, and vice versa. But there are people who cannot take THC for a variety of reasons, so most companies make versions without THC called broad spectrum. Products with a little THC are called full spectrum, and these have less than 0.3%, usually less than 1 milligram per serving. At this level, most people cannot feel the intoxicating effect of THC at all, and is squarely legal by the Farm Bill. This is not a loophole. What happened next is where some companies diverged. As the market discovered more and more loopholes in the Farm Bill to produce and sell high THC products, some major wellness CBD companies began selling recreational grade products, while others remained strictly focused on CBD and wellness. And then there are a bunch of companies who focus solely on recreational hemp THC products. Since these products are still federally legal, they can be sold without licenses and across states lines. And then there are a bunch of companies who focus solely on recreational hemp THC products. Since these products are still federally legal, they can be sold without licenses and across state lines, unlike legal adult use cannabis. This is what you might see advertised on your social media feed or elsewhere. There can be drinks that could replace alcohol, pills that can help ease anxiety, gummies to help you socialize with ease, or tincture to help you sleep. As of today, you can still buy them completely legally anywhere in the States and have them shipped to you. I personally welcome these trends where wellness merges with fun. Now, this brings us to the most important point of this video. In the landscape of cannabis, there is a huge gap in the conversation that no one is talking about. It's the void between medical and recreational cannabis. Medical marijuana is usually the side that gets published in the news, often with personal stories with real people. There are diagnoses and there are results. The recreational side, on the other hand, is usually painted with one brush, getting high. But in reality, a majority of people use weed for therapeutic reasons, to alleviate anxiety, to sleep, or to relax. Even just having fun or giggles is therapeutic. Studies show that laughter is good for your health. The hard line between medical and recreational, with no nuance in between, does not reflect the real world. And no other segment of the cannabis industry is this understood more than in the hemp industry. Not all of the CBD companies, but the honest ones. I worked in one of the major CBD retailers for a year and talked to customers every day. What I learned was that most of them were in that category between medical and recreational. On one end, there are those not sick enough to get medical cards or don't want to, but they suffer from some ailments, typically anxiety, lack of sleep, or pain. They're not against getting high, but that's not the primary reason they seek cannabis. And then there is a whole group of people who deliberately seek the psychoactive effects, but they are not what you would call stoners. They are professionals, teachers, nurses, construction workers, and everyday hardworking people. These people found out that the products this store carried, gummies with 7 different formulas of cannabinoids with 6 to 8 milligrams of THC per serving, provided them with almost customized experiences like energized and inspired, relaxed yet focused, or romantic and intimate. And they never experienced anxiety, paranoia, or even a foggy brain. Some professionals were even using them for performance enhancement during company meetings. These products are not your parents' weed. These effects are achieved with careful combination of cannabinoids, strains, and terpenes in a process that preserves these fragile compounds. More importantly, They come from the wellness angle, and the goal is not to get you as high as possible, but to optimize your well-being. Regular customers in the store understood cannabinoids and combined CBD and THC products freely, controlling the THC doses from 0 milligrams to 10 milligrams, depending on what they needed. This, I felt, was the dawn of personalized wellness, where we can optimize our own incredible transmitter system through plants that are accessible, inexpensive, and easy to grow. In today's increasingly stressful and anxiety-inducing world, using cannabinoids skillfully could be a game changer for so many people. However, most people have no idea how much potential this personalized wellness tool has, even those who have used cannabis for a long time. And they may never know, because that's not the narrative you see in the media. It's not the advice you'd get from most adult use dispensaries, or even from medical dispensaries. Right now, the CBD industry is under attack, even those companies that don't sell THC products. The pressure is most severe in states that have legalized the adult use of cannabis. In 2023, Washington state banned even trace amounts of THC to be sold outside of legal dispensaries, and in California, Governor Newsom placed a similar emergency ban in September. These measures prohibit sales of a majority of products of CBD companies, even Charlotte's Web. These political pressures are often funded by the adult use cannabis industry, who sees the CBD industry as having unfair advantage, which they kind of do. They can sell THC products without expensive licenses, lengthy application processes, and high taxes. They can use a regular banking system and advertise and sell across state lines. Recreational businesses can do none of these. The hemp-derived THC market is still a fraction of the recreational cannabis market, but its growth rate is fast. If left unchecked, it could become a serious threat to the recreational cannabis industry. This is why the battle is on. And this Florida election could decide the course. Florida's medical cannabis market is the largest in the country. It also enjoys a thriving CBD market. The nation's second largest CBD company, SunMed, which has hundreds of franchised retail stores around the country, is based in Florida. As I mentioned, the anti-hemp THC pressure comes mostly from the adult use industry. This created an upside-down situation in which blue, progressive states have the most stringent restrictions on hemp THC, which again is federally legal, while red conservative states have practically legalized marijuana to be sold anywhere without license to anyone regardless of age. Florida has been tightening its belt around the hemp THC, but earlier this year, Governor DeSantis surprised some people by vetoing the bill that would have limited the THC amount in the hemp products. At the same time, the governor has been heavily campaigning against the legalization of recreational use. He states that this amendment is not about legalization, but about a few large corporations monopolizing the market and squeezing out small businesses, a talking point repeated by other opponents of the bill, including the CEO of SunMed, which is a little ironic since SunMed is hardly a small business. But they are not wrong. This ballot item was largely sponsored by Trulieve, the largest cannabis retailer in the world and largest medical dispensary in the state. They spent $140 million on the campaign, trying to secure more than 60% votes needed to pass. If it passes, they will become one of the first license holders to sell recreational cannabis, because the current medical cannabis license holders are already promised to receive recreational licenses. Florida has tough medical cannabis licensing requirements, and only 25 companies have been operating. Trulieve is on top of that list. They require that licensees must be vertically integrated, meaning one company must be involved in every step of the operation, from seize to sales. This ensures quality control but requires a large capital, making it difficult for small businesses to be licensed. Many states had this requirement with medical cannabis legalization, but with adult use, most states converted to horizontal integration, where independent companies are licensed for different stages of production, such as growing, processing, and distribution. Some states even banned vertical integration in order to level the ground. Not Florida. Florida, as far as it is known now, it's keeping the vertical integration structure. So it looks like the current 25 medical cannabis companies will become the first recreational companies pretty seamlessly. Amendment 3, as it stands now, also prohibits home cultivation of cannabis. It says nothing of licensing to small businesses, social equity applicants, or pathways for hemp businesses. If it passes, the legislature must decide on the details of implementation, and the Democratic members are calling for an overhaul of the state cannabis law. So a lot could still change. But no matter what, it already looks like it would be one of the most big corporation-friendly marijuana legalizations in the country. On the eve of the election, the polls showed that the support for the amendment sits at exactly 60%. So what would be the outcomes for the rest of us? If it passes, but if home growing is not approved, if the vertical integration requirement remains in place, and if the licensing priorities are not shared with small businesses, it could indeed lead to a total control and domination by a handful of corporations. And it could spell out the end of the CBD industry. The passing of the amendment would mean DeSantis' defeat. The emboldened cannabis companies may pressure the passage of another anti-hemp bill, this time without the governor's veto. Florida could join California and Washington in banning practically most CBD products, as well as making it illegal to grow your own without a medical card. With that kind of momentum, the Congress might permanently change the Farm Bill to significantly limit the level of THC. This would be absolutely tragic. What would happen to the customers I helped every day? What would happen to millions of people who depend on hemp products to make their lives a little bit easier? Not all of them would want to go to recreational dispensaries or buy high THC products, and far more people can only receive these products by mail. Even more broadly, the future generation could be robbed of a safe, natural, inexpensive, accessible, widely available plant that could help us navigate through our challenging world, while watching big corporations get bigger by turning the plants into a monster whose sole purpose is to get people hooked young and addicted forever by the playbook of tobacco and opioid industries. If it doesn't pass, then it'll be interesting to see what, if any, actions the CBD industry will take to strengthen their position in the Florida cannabis market. And the CBD companies in the rest of the country could let out a sigh of relief for now. But the win-win situation would be that it would pass, and by miracle, the governor and the legislature work together to overhaul the state cannabis law that would include social equity licensing, a pathway for hemp companies, a priority and support for small businesses, conversion to horizontal integration, and most importantly, the right to grow. Whatever the voters choose, Tuesday's result in Florida is likely to push the national trend in one way or another. So how should you respond to the either outcome? If it passes, pay attention to how the law will be implemented. Study what the situation is in your home state. Not all legalization is created equal. No matter the regulations in your state, always hold the line at home growing. We should always maintain the right to grow medicinal plants at home. This might become important in the near future. And explore some high-quality cannabinoid products before they disappear. Maybe even stock up. The data from the Florida Office of Medical Marijuana Use shows that since the introduction of the amendment, production of high CBD and low THC items have plunged among Trulieve, Curaleaf, and other medical companies. This pattern matches the anecdotal accounts from medical card holders in New York State. If it loses, well, you'll have more time to try cannabis wellness products. Study the endocannabinoid system. Cultivate a lifestyle with activities that naturally increase your own cannabinoids, like meditation, good nutrition, and exercise. Use CBD, THC, and other cannabinoids to enhance your unique endocannabinoid system. You can learn all of that and more by subscribing to this channel and signing up for my newsletter with the link below. Thanks for watching.